Question number 4, what fees are associated with my digital advertising budget? Super important to ask not just your potential partner, but your existing partner. If you don't have insight today into what you're spending on digital advertising, that could be a problem. So our very first poll question, how does your digital marketing provider bill you?
Yeah, we'd ask everyone to just drop a comment in and we'll pick those up.
I can't see the comments, so just drop them in there. Kind of answers, are they billing you a flat fee? Are they billing you a percentage per lead? Are you not sure? If you're not sure, total red flag for sure. You want to make sure you know how you're being charged. And the reason that we asked this, we'll give everybody a minute to kind of look at this and decide if they're going to put the answer in. The reason we asked this is obviously digital advertising is different than email marketing, right? It's different than a billboard. It's different than direct mail. Those are more deliverables. I will give you 2 emails. They'll be targeted at these customers, and we'll look at those results. When you talk about social advertising, Facebook in particular, you talk about Google Ads or programmatic advertising, this is you staking them. This is you giving them your budget and saying, hey, I expect you to behave responsibly with this. I expect you to get me the best return, and I want you to report back on how we did, good, bad, or ugly, right? So it's a little bit of a different concept, and it makes the relationship a little bit different. I definitely wouldn't invest my retirement if I had a lot of money, maybe someday. I definitely, if I invested that money, I wouldn't just be satisfied with well, I gave it to him, hopefully it's making money. I would want to know what we're doing to behave responsibly with that money, right?
So we are getting some responses in, and I think they mimic, a bit of what I experienced back in my dealer days. It was a mixture. It's not a straight answer. So like your ad agency, your local one probably is taking a percentage of the spend. And then maybe your pay-per-click provider is taking a flat fee or a percentage. And then it might be mixed with a little bit of, I wish I knew in some cases.
And so if
which might be a co-op kind of program thing.
I certainly feel strongly that if you're in that category of, I'm not quite sure, I just haven't had time to chase that down, the best thing you can do is start an email right now to whoever that vendor is and say, hey, listen, I need to know what I'm paying. Let them do the legwork. That's what they're there for. They're there to partner with you. And if there's nothing to hide, they're going to get back to you and they're going to explain it. Start that conversation with an email. If you don't get a response back, that's a red flag, right? But it's good to know this, and we'll kind of go through. We made up a scenario. We tend to do a flat fee. Obviously, there's a lot of vendors out there. There's a lot of different partners that you could be working with. So there's some there's some of this. The digital advertising industry has gotten to this point where nobody's quite sure exactly what the best way to charge is, right? So personally, we kind of lean towards a flat fee model. And we'll kind of show you really quickly just kind of an example of what we look at and why we feel this way, and then have that conversation with your provider, because again, they might feel a different way that is more advantageous for you. So with a flat fee model, obviously it's a little cost prohibitive if you get down to where you're spending very little. I'm not saying that this is our fee either. This is a completely made up scenario just to talk about this. As your advertising budget changes, and what we've experienced is advertising budgets do change over time, especially if you're doing, or you and your vendor partner are doing the right thing and evaluating success. So we're going into July, we have a big local sale going on. We want to put more money behind that. So we want to increase our budget, right? Or we've discovered that there's an area of our advertising that's just, it's on fire right now. We're doing a very good job in this area. We want to move some budget into that, maybe even increase it. With a flat fee, you have a better way of looking at it and saying, this is my return on the investment I gave you, right? So I gave you this much money, and this is kind of what results we got back from that. When you get into percentage models, this is 30%. This is not aimed at anybody. We just picked a number. Your fee goes up with your spend, right? So you end up in this scenario where it's a little bit more difficult to gauge how much was spent on my behalf and how much was spent on the vendor, right? Or on the process. And it's really kind of important to really understand how much was spent on your behalf to get those results. If you have a package today, I think one thing we didn't talk about, there are some packages out there that are all inclusive, and they are a flat fee that includes ad spend towards a goal. Ask those vendors as well, hey, I'd like to get some insight into how much of that is actually spent on my behalf, because in the end, a dealership definitely could go in and spend themselves on Google Ads, right? Any kind of software and other proprietary knowledge notwithstanding. It's important to know how much money you're spending on your advertising budget. So what's the comparison? Flat fee, more predictable, percentage of spend can get a little bit out there. So it's also important to know, are there hidden fees? Are there fees that are a percentage of my ad spend to cover creative? Is there another percentage to cover this other area? Because that's the only way that you're really going to get a true understanding of what is your budget today and where do you have opportunity for growth. So obviously flat fee, we feel like there's more of a savings there. But the point being, start the conversation if you don't know. If you're unsure, ask them why they do charge for that, the way that they charge. Perfectly valid answers could be, hey, the more we spend, the more we have to set up campaigns. Just ask the question. Definitely if that conversation hasn't been had lately, or at all, start the conversation. And we wrote these too. I looked at some of these questions and I was like, boy, somebody started asking us these questions, I could get on the phone with them right away, because these are some good probative questions. They're a little difficult to answer sometimes if you ask them directly that way, because you're wondering, if you're a good vendor, what's going on? What can I help you with? What, obviously there's something disconnected here, and I want to make sure that relationship is really good.
A good piece of advice on that front is to take maybe the first quarter of the new year when sales are slow, so typically January, February months, and go talk to all of your current vendors. And you could almost ask them to reapply for the job, or just talk to them. Say, has the contract changed since we first signed it? Things of that nature, and just get a better understanding of what's going on. And that'd be a good time to communicate with them too, because they're also building new product for NADA and things like that. And you want to stay informed as to what kind of things they're doing for the future as well.
Yeah, that's excellent advice. This isn't something, if you have someone who's partnering with you, they want to engage you. They want to engage with you on this level. They want to make sure that everybody, it's very difficult to, obviously dealership world is pretty fast paced, and so is the vendor world. And when you have disconnects, they can snowball a little bit. So I just definitely reach out and say, hey, I'm ready to talk about this now. I have a minute. Please, please send me that information. So question 5, and these next questions get a little bit looser. Those top 4, I think, were pretty intense questions, and they're definitely broad categories. So question 5, how do you incorporate consumer reviews into my digital advertising? So this speaks back to our reviews, right? How important are our reviews in digital? Super important. Again, same stat we showed before, but we know that they're important because the consumers are telling us that they are, because the placement on our business listings and other places are forcing them into importance right now. So even without evaluating exactly where you are at with reviews and what's going on, it's happening, right? So consider what customers find when they seek out your reviews. They're looking for them today, and they're showing up in places like you can see here. Your rating is showing up on your organic results. We saw that it was showing up in Google My Business. These ratings are out there, so it's best to get control of them. Some ways we think that you could use reviews beyond just the what do I look like out there. Once you start the process of having a good review strategy of deciding, all right, so I'm getting reviews, I'm getting them regularly, I like the strategy, I like the way I look. How do you then start to leverage that? So a few things that we've seen successful dealers do is start taking those reviews and feeding them into your website, feed them into your VDPs. Be safe, Jeff, for sure. Getting them into your VDPs, and so that's your product page, right? So what do you expect when you buy products in your personal life? You expect to see reviews on it. Amazon shoppers know that the first thing that you're going to do once you decide on a product is you're looking to say, oh, what do people have to say about this? So why not start leveraging the reviews that you have in your product pages, in your credit app? Credit apps and trade-ins, I think, are such a huge source of engagement that we miss. We look at how many did they complete, right? Well, there's a lot of people that use credit app tools, trade-in tools, payment calculators. They use them up until the point where they have to identify themselves, right? So, and then they use them up to that point, and then they abandon because they're really just using them as a tool. They maybe aren't ready to talk to you yet, but why not have some reviews alongside that that add to the trust of, hey, this is a dealership that you can trust. This isn't just a trade-in tool that is on their website and they're just trying to get your email. Start injecting some reviews that say, hey, I had a really good experience by talking to such and such here at this dealership. He made financing a breeze. Why wouldn't that be on your credit app? So that it gives, again, it gives that personal touch. So those are some ways, using them within your service specialists. Everybody knows that there's a lot of fear and trepidation over going in for service. You expect that it's going to be a big repair order. Start putting in reviews from your service department. They did such a great job meeting me where I work and dropping me off. My car was fixed correctly. These types of things on there, again, it just gives that human nature. But it starts with asking them, how are we leveraging my reviews today in my marketing? And if the answer is we aren't, then you can just say, hey, I'd like to start. Let's get the ideas going. And again, just going back to Google My Business, they're right there for the world to see. Whether you want them to be there or not, they're there today. So it just makes sense to have a strategy around it.